3D models are a really cool, fun new feature that can be utilized in PowerPoint, Word, Excel, and even Outlook. We're going to take a look at how you can utilize it in PowerPoint. Specifically, 3D models can be inserted into a slide, and there are different types of 3D models. They work in a similar fashion to illustrations and icons and photographs and clip art in that you can resize them and you can layer them and wrap text around them. But 3D models allow for you to view things at different angles, and there are also some 3D models that are animated. In PowerPoint, let's say we're doing a presentation on dinosaurs, and we'd like to bring in a 3D model of a dinosaur and be able to rotate and tilt that dinosaur to talk specifically about the dinosaur. So on the Insert ribbon in PowerPoint, in the Illustrations category, you'll see 3D models. Now when you click on 3D models, you'll notice that you can choose from a file or from an online source. So from a file means that you've already got a 3D file, so maybe your company has 3D files that you're utilizing for products that you're making or for designs that you've got, and you can bring those into your PowerPoint as well. But if you're looking for a library to choose from, you're going to choose the online sources. This is going to bring us to the Microsoft Library of Online 3D Models. Everything is broken down into categories. It's going to look very similar to when you're bringing in images or icons. It is searchable, so if you knew you wanted to find something specific, you can go ahead and search for that. But there are also useful categories. You're going to notice in these categories that some of them have this little, looks like a person running in the left-hand corner. It's an animated icon, and it means that those categories contain animated 3D models, meaning that they're going to have motion and scenes associated with them. Other ones are just regular 3D models. So if we knew we were doing dinosaurs, we might click the dinosaur category and see what we had for choices. And let's bring this guy in. We select it and we choose Insert. Once that 3D model is inserted into your slide in PowerPoint, you're able to see the handles that are around the outside of that image. So similar to when you bring an image or an icon or a picture into a slide, you're going to have all these handles around the outside. The main function of those handles is to move your image to a different area or to resize that image. Let's go ahead and resize it, make it just a little bit bigger. You're going to notice that when you bring a 3D model into your slide, you now are using a contextual ribbon called 3D Model. Let's talk about the tools that are on that ribbon. So on the 3D Model tab in your ribbons, you're going to see that you've got your first item here is 3D Models. This is just your insert. Your Reset, which is going to bring it back to the original size as well as the original angle or view that it came in. And then you've got preset views that you can use. And these are preset angles and tilts that you can look at your 3D model in. So you'll notice this one's from the top, this one here is from the side, and you can expand this and see all of those different views. From the back, from the lower, from upper. Now, in addition to simply using these preset views, you can also hover in the middle of your 3D model, and this allows you to change and view that 3D model any way that you'd like. Again, this is also going to be your indicator and the icon that's going to let you know that you're working with a 3D model. So anytime you have something selected and you see that, you know that it's a 3D model and that you can then spin it around, tilt it, angle it, and so on. So again, the great thing about this is you're able to get the exact angle and the exact view of something that you insert into your file. A lot of times when we're working with clip art and illustrations, what we're bringing in isn't quite right, and this gives us a ton of flexibility. So let's just say we want to do something like that. And now we've got our view selected. Now, like other things that we might bring into a slide, we can work with arranging those by bringing them forward or backward, and we can also align them if we've got multiple things. So if we wanted to bring in a circle or a square maybe to accentuate that, we could do an insert and a shape. We can bring in a square. Maybe we want to just put a backdrop on that. Notice again, this is going to go on top. Now if I go ahead and send that backward, now I can have my dinosaur sitting on that frame or that box. I can still rotate it, so if I decided after doing that that I wanted to have it be a little bit different angle, I can do that too. Now notice when you do some rotations, sometimes what you have it sitting on might need to be resized. Depending on how you've rotated that, the size will in fact change. Pan and zoom is unique specifically to 3D models. And what pan and zoom allows you to do is not only can you angle and tilt and adjust the view of your 3D model, but you can zoom in on a particular part of your 3D model. So let's say we wanted to look specifically at the head or the face. So maybe we want a little different view to do that, like that. And then I'm going to click on pan and zoom, and I'm going to move it over. And as soon as I do pan and zoom, I'm going to see this magnifying glass with the plus symbol show up, and then I can zoom in. And again, you might zoom way in, and once you zoom in, you might decide you want to have a slightly different angle. But again, what you're able to do is zoom in by going up and zoom out by going down. Once you've got it zoomed in, you can adjust where you want to zoom in. So again, you're able to move that around so that you can see exactly the part of that 3D model that you'd like. Oftentimes what people are doing is they're taking a 3D model and they are using that pan and zoom to accentuate or view a specific part of that 3D model, and then copying it and using pan and zoom to talk or highlight a different part of that model. For example, we might be talking about the head in this particular slide. Then down here in this particular slide, we might decide we want to talk about the feet. So we bring the pan and zoom up, we zoom back out, and this time zoom in on the feet. Maybe something like that. And we can adjust our size of our box as well as move it to get just a single foot in there. And again, we're able to take parts of that 3D model and utilize those specific parts. We can manually adjust the height and width if we'd like as well, utilizing the inches up here, either manually or typing them in. And if we want to get rid of a 3D model, much like when we're working with a illustration or a clip art or an image, we can simply delete it. And if we want it back, we can use our Control-Z or our undo to bring that back. In PowerPoint, when you're working with slide templates and you have an option to add graphics, images, icons, and so on, you'll notice that 3D models is now one of those choices. So the icon here is the square with, looks kind of like a globe. When you click 3D models on this, you'll get to that same online 3D model library. This time let's take a look at an animated model. So I'm going to choose all animated. And in here, since we're talking about dinosaurs, we're going to go ahead and bring in this animated dinosaur. When we bring in an animated model, first they are a little bit larger, and it depends on the model that you bring in, but they're going to have different scenes associated with each model. So once you bring it in, you're going to notice that it's actually going to have some movement. It's kind of like a mini video that comes up. You still have the handles, so you're able to do some resizing. So let's make this a little bit larger. And then you'll notice in the left-hand corner you've got a pause button. So you still have the 3D icon or indicator in the middle here that allows you to change the angle, the tilt, the direction, the view. You can still use the views up here even though it's animated, so you can switch to these different views. I'm going to go ahead and just make my own view here. So I'm going to move it so that it's overlapping and just make my own view, tilt it accordingly. I'm going to make the back a little bit more visible. And the difference here is on the 3D model ribbon, you're going to have two new icons that you are only going to see when you have an animated 3D model. So you're going to have a play and a scenes. So play is again going to give you the motion like we saw when we first brought it in, and scenes is going to tell you how many scenes you have associated with this particular model. Again, different models are going to have different numbers of scenes. Some of them are going to have 1, 2, or 3, some of them are going to have 5 or 6, and you're able to click on these and see the different scenes. Your views and your tilts might be adjusted based on the scene that you choose, but you have some control over that utilizing those tilts and views. You can pause those and play those. Now when we're working with PowerPoint, a lot of times our presentations are going to be live, or they're going to be animated, and so we're going to have some animation that will play during our presentation. So let's see how that would look. If we go into a slideshow and look at how our animation shows up, let's just take a look. When we choose from a current slide, we're going to see that the animation is active based on the scene that was selected, and it will continue to replay that scene. We saw that there were scenes, but if we go back to your PowerPoint and go to the animation ribbon, you're going to see that you've got those same 5 scenes here. So we can click on those different scenes and see what that particular animation looks like. But we can also work with additional animations. So we can switch to 3D animations that are part of our PowerPoint and apply them to 3D models. So this not only works with animated 3D models, but also regular 3D models. So we can do a swing, we can do a turntable. These allow us to animate and show the 3D view, even if it's not animated. If we go back to our previous 3D model that we brought in, which was not an animated model, we're going to see that when that 3D model is selected, in that animation ribbon, we've got some of those same animations, but we do not have the scenes because it's not an animated 3D model. So we can still do a leave, we can still do a jump and turn. Doesn't make sense for that one particularly. We can swing it, so we're able to see the different angles. We can do a turntable. Let's just go back to the full 3D model so you can see what that might look like. I've reset the 3D model. I'm going to go ahead and enlarge it just a little bit. And now we can see that if we apply these animations, we can have it swing a little, we can do a full turntable, allowing us to see the whole entire 3D model. And then let's take a look at how that shows up in your slideshow. In our slideshow view, it becomes an animation, so it can either be a click to animate, or it can be automatic, depending on how you set that. But you can see how that 3D model then rotates in this case, or whatever animation we've applied.